You know, as a child, when I look back, I didn't really have a drawing skill. Like most kids, you draw, you attempt to draw, you maybe try and draw your favorite superhero. I didn't really have the hand for drawing in that manner. Although I was interested in art, colors, I was always visually minded, I would say. Fascinated with billboards and all the visual stuff in my city and where I came from. But it really wasn't until the graffiti movement that I really applied myself. Because I got to take the subway to school, the repetition of the 2 times a day on the train, I started noticing and seeing, and things became clear to me. Like I'd see the same name, and that was written yesterday in blue ink, and today it's in red spray paint on the other side of the train. Or, what the hell's, I started becoming more and more fascinated. They park trains where? You do what? Where I want in. And that's kind of when I realized that I like doing art. I think that I'm very late second or very early third generation New York City graffiti writer artist. Pre-term street art. That term hadn't even been created yet. Finding a name as a young graffiti artist is a tricky one because, again, third generation, a lot of names are taken. The word stash traditionally is to hide something, right? I had an older brother. We shared a room because that's how I grew up. And I would always hide my shit and then blame him. Mom, he fucking took my blah, 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 blah. He'd always get mad at me. Why you stash your shit? That's how it came about. I learned how to paint on a 2-foot platform in the dark where you cannot step back. You're looking on angles and side by side. I learned how to do composition and certain things in a very awkward way due to the nature of the medium and the choices I made where I was painting. What has helped my career was being young but aware of what was happening. Right? We all draw from the same pool of inspiration, but it's what we do with it to bring it back to the world that makes our thumbprint unique. And that's the beauty of creativity, I believe. I started making t-shirts, whatever. I gave them to all these dudes, and I thought, oh, hey, and they were like, oh shit, where'd you get? I made them. What? You know what I mean? And it just started, that's when it all really, oh, okay, you like that? Okay, I better make another one. And it was all based on the underground. And it was like, if you knew, you knew. But that was always our shit as graffiti artists, right? Isn't that the same? I was trying to take that same mentality when I would make gear. And I was just making all sorts of weird shit because I had access to it. To me, it was like, well, I did Rusto and Krylon. I'm the king of appropriating things that I want that nobody makes. I could draw the shit in my sleep, the oval with I was like, come on. Lo and behold, the Philly blunt was our ticket to what became streetwear. New York, we were hung up on words like def, what now became dope or fly or hype or whatever. And fresh was the really big word. To me, when we got to do the branding, or we didn't know it was branding, but when we named the company, I wanted to call it Not From Concentrate, because that's another way of saying fresh. We use the acronyms GFS, Gerb, Futura, Stash, because the New York City subway has a G train, has an F train, and an S train. So I took all the images and mocked up a subway sign, Not From Concentrate, with the white line with the 3 dots, and and that was it. That was the name of the company. That's how it was born. I started my brand Subwear. Subwear to me is like subway wear. I was trying to think of in the same, how can I play with graphics, what works for me, my language graphically. I wanted much like GFS, Not From Concentrate. I wanted my own little tagline. So visual maintenance, as we call it, as I called it, was sort of like visually just putting things in the right place. So to me, that's visual maintenance. It's sort of like cleaning up visually, being mindful of how that information is received through the visual lens, and that's how that started. I was in London a bunch, and it was really those early trips, getting to hang out at Gimme 5, Michael Koppelman, Fraser Cook. We really got very close, and that brought me to London a whole lot. There was a woman that works for Michael. Her name is Hitomi. She went to school with Junio from Undercover. She's good friends with Nigo, really good friends with Takshin from Neighborhood. I was invited to go to Japan on my first trip. When Hitomi heard I was going to Japan, she said, Nigo wants to meet you. She introduced me to Nigo and skating. One of my trips to Japan, another Japanese godfather of the streetwear movement, Hiroshi Fujiwara. I'm up in his office one day and Hiroshi calls me. He goes, yo, I want you to meet my friend Mark from Nike. Okay, cool. Mark asked me all these questions about Nike and what my thing. He saw me wearing Air Force Ones. Mark gave me his card. Mark Parker, president, Nike. I don't know, president of Japan. What do you, I don't know anything about anything, about that world, Mark and I become very good friends. Anyway, my relationship with Mark led to me doing the first shoe. The Air Force One was really one of the first shoes that made me like, yo, I remember making my mother crazy. When I got asked to do a shoe, I said, I wanna do the original Air Force One in the same kind of colorway, the same mesh inlay in the mid, but it was all about homage to my first Nike shoe that made me go, oh shit. I think it's incredible, fucking incredible to have opportunities like this. Kids that come in that might know my name because they're into footwear, like, yo, Stash who did Nikes? There's a timestamp to a lot of this stuff. And I think I've leapfrogged through a few mediums and have a very diverse audience that might not know the other audience. You know, I'm getting to have an exhibition in a city that I have so much love and respect for and that sort of helped shape me. Much like what's gonna happen in London with Exhibit A, we're not scratching the surface. We're giving you a cliff note, an abridged version of what the whole story is. Let's set the timeline back to give people sort of more of a understanding of what they think they might know. Right now, that's what I'm interested in, is telling that story. For me, resurfacing and re-churning around and opening the studio up and emptying the boxes that have been blowing the dust off of things from 20 years ago has really revitalized my whole way of thinking. And to celebrate our movement, not just, Exhibit A is about our movement as a whole, a body of people, all my contemporaries that were alongside of us doing what they were doing that excited the marketplace as well, you know? So let's get real about the shit, you know? And so fucking thank you for Foot Patrol for seeing that. And let's celebrate the 20th with a fucking bang.